Hey, good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic. Cliff, good morning. Nice to have you along with us. Braden, Harry, Craig, always a pleasure, my friend. Joe, how you doing this morning? Mad Jack, how are things over on YouTube? Love that music. Good morning, Jerry. Anyway, my name is Mike Avery. This is another edition of Behind the Mic. So it's actually Mike Behind the Mic on a beautiful Wednesday morning. I'm here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. Brian, good morning. How are you? Bruce, appreciate you being along with us. Jason checking in from the Ford Dearborn truck plant, making those F-150s. Ross says, Mike, what day is it? It's hump day. Kevin checking in from Vassar. Brian, good morning. How are you? Nice to have you along with us. Boy, it's hard to believe that August is just around the corner. I mean, like really just around the corner. How are things in Lewiston and Atlanta? Good morning, Ed. Yeah, Martin, it was nice to meet you at the Angler Quest Owners Tournament at Linwood Beach Marina. That event was a lot of fun. It was actually won by my good friend Scott Hand, who bought a boat that I used to run here a couple of years ago. Good morning, Paul. How are things at Versus Skins? Leslie says it's a great day to be alive. It's always a great day to be alive, isn't it? Here in our great state of Michigan, just a beautiful state, beautiful day, beautiful time of year, especially if you're a salmon fisherman. Yeah, Scott did a wonderful job. Scott's a great fisherman. Great fisherman. 2 weeks until we go to White River, Ontario, Canada on a bear hunt. That is coming up fast. There's Scott right there. Scott, again, congrats on winning the first annual Angler Quest Owners Tournament. And he makes a good point. There's fish still all over the bay. Scott got his fish out deep. We were over on Callahan. Others were fishing the plug. Others were fishing the sailboat buoys. Others were down in by the blue wall. I mean, it's almost August and there are fish everywhere. I will be fishing Saturday morning, and then Craig Plowman and I are fishing again Monday morning. Morning, Brent. How are you, buddy? Nick says he can't listen long because he's at work. Well, I appreciate you checking in with us at all, Nick. Have a good day at work. Brent, that's a beautiful pup that you sold to Nick. And it's going to a good home. That is a dog-loving family for sure. Good morning, Roger. How are you? Thanks for joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic. You like the interview with Scott Hamlin of Boning Archery. I love to feature Michigan-based companies. In fact, in this week's show, in our third hour, talking to Bob Ransom, the radio show that is, Bob Ransom of Primal Tree Stands. Bob is the guy who started Ameristep with one screw-in tree step, and now he's over at Primal. Getting some rain and rock. Bob is like the American dream. He started a company with one product. Again, he started Ameristep with one screw-in tree stand. He grew it to the point where it was big and successful. He sold it off to a bigger company, and because of that, he had a non-compete for 5 years, so he couldn't be back in the industry. Well, as soon as the 5 years were up, he started Primal Tree Stands. And now they make that Wraith 270 see-through blind that I love so much. It was a fun day. Oliver is the dog's name. Excellent. It was fun, Scott. Kristen Monroe, Brad Dupuy of Angler Quest did a wonderful job with that. Here's a guy I was hoping to have check in this morning. Captain Jim Robleski. Congrats to you, my friend. You got your captain's license. That's a big deal. And I say it's a big deal because I've done it and I know what's involved in getting that license. So, Captain Jim, congrats on your new credentials. Honestly, that's something to be proud of. I'm still proud of the fact that I got my license, and you should be, Jim, as well. Jeremy, good morning. Nice to have you along with us on this edition of Behind the Mic. My name is Mike Avery. I'm here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio to record this week's show on the radio show that'll air this weekend on 33 stations across the state. Captain Bobby Sullivan. Bobby is the guy whose client caught that state record king salmon last year. Bobby has made a big move. He's leaving his full-time job to become a full-time charter captain. That is a big, big commitment. I want to talk to Bobby about reading water, specifically salmon water, Lake Michigan. You've got thousands and thousands of acres of water. How do you know where to start? We'll talk to Bobby about that. In hour number 2, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk still of salmon fishing, but not trolling, about jigging for salmon. You've seen these guys at the drowned river mouths. It's the time of year when the guys and gals in smaller boats can anchor up and jig for kings as they come through those pinch points. I remember catching big fish trolling, never caught one jigging. What a riot that would be. Well, you are more than welcome, Cap. And then Nick Green of MUCC weighs in on what's the topic? The consent decree negotiations. There's a gag order, so they can't say too much. But everybody I've talked to who is privy to the information and can't talk specifics tells me that the DNR, in their words, is selling us out. They say the DNR has given up way too much on their negotiations with the tribes, and they're not happy. So we'll talk about that as much as we can. Following up on that, this week's Ask Avery segment, I've had people ask me many, many times, how much money is the DNR making on the license application process? The bare application revenue for 2021 for the process, $293,000. The DNR made another $150,000 on license sales. The elk application process brought in $238,000, another $25,000 for license sales. Spring and fall turkey application revenue, $134,000. The license sales brought in $1.5 million. Now, put this in perspective. The budget in 2021 for the wildlife division was $46 million. So they're not getting rich on it. I'll talk more about that in this week's Ask Avery segment. John said, what did the winner get for the Angler Quest tournament? They got a new 2022 85-26 Pro Troll. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't really. That'd be a $90,000 boat. What Scott Hand did get was $250 for the big fish, which is 5.09 pounds. And he got another $1,000 for top 5 fish. And I think he was just over 15 pounds. So he got $1,250. Now, I do know that next year they're going to break that out where you're only going to be able to enter your big fish in one or the other. You're either going to be able to enter your big fish as big fish or towards your top 5 fish. Davina, good morning. How are you? Nice to have you along with us. And bragging rights. That's the big thing, Ed. You were exactly right. What Scott Hand won, Scott and his grandson Blake, who is a cool kid, and the rest of his crew, they got bragging rights. The Angler Quest Owners Tournament will now be an annual event. And from now on, Scott Hand can say he won the first Angler Quest Owners Tournament. It's like Mark Martin going back 30 years saying he won the first National Professional Walleye Championship. Scott Hand can now say he won the first Angler Quest Owners Tournament. So, Scott, congrats on that. Scott, also, another topic we talked about, Ohio. Have you learned anything more about that? Because I was talking to Bill Piles yesterday, and if you are going to be able to join us, and I hope you are, it'd be good to learn more about that. Could they post or print that information? I wonder. I don't know, John. That's an excellent question. Mike brings up a real good point. Who has the nets in the bay east of the island? I don't know the answer to that, Mike, but I found those nets myself the other day. I was fishing last week with my grandson, Trent, trolling east of the island, and I looked up and there's a boat setting nets. I don't know whose boat it was, but I was surprised to see a net in there. What are they after? I don't know. We know there are walleye in there. We know there are white bass in there. We know there are sheephead in there. We know there are catfish in there. We know there are pike in there. I don't know what they're fishing for. Good question, Mike. I don't know. Bill did send some nice pictures last night. Absolutely. So, Scott Hand, if you're going to be able to join us, as soon as you figure that out, please let me know. Seraphins, you think it was Seraphins netting junkfish? Well, they're going to get walleye in there too, Scott. You and I both know that, right? And they'll have to let them go, of course. That's Seraphim. Okay. Michigan Outdoor Report tuning in. Scott says, yes, he will let us know as soon as he can. Or are you saying, yes, you're going, Scott? Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters, just waiting for the rain to let up to go out and hit the baits. That is coming up now in 2 weeks. I will be up there hunting with Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters. Looking forward to that. Ross Elliott will be up there. Ed Bolanowski's going to be up there. A lot of people will be up there for this hunt. This is something I look forward to every year. It's a great place. Lots of bears, a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that hunt. Yes to Seraphin's netting walleye too. But they can't keep them. We all know that. They can't keep them. And the reason I know there are walleye in there is that's one of my favorite spots. That's one of my favorite midsummer spots, right there where that net is. Now, that's changed a little bit. The water temp Saturday was 77, which I was pleased that it wasn't over 80. And I will tell you this. I'm going to tell you right now. We found fish Saturday on Callahan Reef. My skinny water was, well, we didn't make a pass in there, so I can't tell you. All right, Scott, appreciate that. Morning, dude. Just made my order of bear bait from Lucky 7 from Minnesota. Anybody needs bait, he'll have the good stuff. Good to know, Paul. I will use, John, a crossbow for my hunt with Ron St. Louis at Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters. I used a crossbow last year as well. I put down the recurve, John, not because I wanted to, because I love hunting with a recurve, but I wasn't shooting it enough to be proficient to have the confidence that is required in my mind to make a good, clean, quick, humane killing shot. So I have put down the recurve and I've picked up the crossbow once again, and I've taken a lot of bears with a crossbow. It's a very, very effective tool. Although I will tell you, the one that I killed 2 years ago with a recurve died within sight. The one I shot last year with a crossbow, and it was a good shot, we had to work for that one. Ron's son Gibby and other guys had to work for that bear. I just sat back and watched because I was the old guy. So there's an advantage to being an old guy. And then I'll be, okay, Captain Jim took a buddy out yesterday in a penny bar 2-man limit with crawlers. Well, Jim, you know what I say. If you got to use crawlers to catch them, they're not worth catching. And people who know me know the details of that statement. For the rest of you, I'll just let it stick in your craw. And then I will also be bear hunting in Michigan September 25th with the bear whisperer, Johnny Bowler. For that hunt, I'm going to use a gun for the first time ever on a bear hunt. I'm going to use my Brenton 350 Legend because I want to kill my first Michigan bear with a Michigan gun. So as soon as I come back from my White River hunt, I'm going to sight in that 350 Legend from Brenton USA Hunting Rifles to get that thing good to go. And then shortly after that, we will do a Wednesday night live in early September with the folks at Brenton at Mike King's farm in southern Michigan, showing off those guns. Oh, I didn't know this, Ron. Lucky 7 Bear Baits is the place we buy all of our bear bait. Okay, so I'm getting confirmation here that Ron St. Louis, who knows how to bait bears, says they get their bear baits from Lucky 7. And Paul Jenkins says he gets his from Lucky 7 as well. Raber Bay, how are things in the eastern UP? One more follow-up on a fishing report. I talked to my buddy Tony yesterday because I was jonesing to be out there because there was no wind. I thought, why am I in my office? I should be on the water. Tony told me, and this is either Monday or Tuesday, that the bugs were so bad that it was forcing fishermen off the water. Wow. You know, those days where you go to breathe in and they come in, they get in your eyes, your nose and stuff. One of those miserable days. Charlie Rood and Pat Johnston. Man, again, I'm in the presence of greatness. Okay, so what else is on my list here? Oh, going back to the rundown for this week's show. In the third hour, Mike said they were atrocious yesterday. How'd you do yesterday, Mike? In the third hour of this week's show, Mark checking in from South Louisiana on YouTube. Mark, nice to have you along with us on this edition of Behind the Mic. By the way, my name is Mike Avery. I'm here in the Outdoor Magazine studio to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. And in the third hour of the show, Bob Ransom is featured. Bob is a friend of mine who started Ameristep with one screw-in tree step. He built that company up to the bugs one. Built that company up to the point where he sold it to a big corporate conglomerate, which is the American dream, right? You have a concept, you start a company, you work hard, you make it successful, you sell it off, and you retire on those proceeds. Not Bob Ransom. Bob Ransom can't sit still. He can't retire. He can't just put his feet up and relax. So as soon as his 5-year non-compete was up, he started another company called Primal Tree Stands. I'm working with Primal. They make that beautiful Wraith 270 see-through ground blind. By the way, if you go to primaltreestands.com, and use the promo code Avery, you can get one for like under $200. And then, of course, we'll wrap the show up with Chef Dixie Dave Miner, who I'm now calling Chef Dixie Dave Miner once again. And if somebody doesn't like it, tough. Dave likes it, but others might not like it. Harry says, as of being as old as you are, which is like as old as dirt, it's all about the hunt. It's all about the hunt anymore. By the way, though, Harry, I did not win the prize for the oldest angler at the Angler Quest Owners Tournament at Linwood Beach on Saturday. That was taken by a man who was 78 years old. So he's got us by quite a few years. God willing, I will still be fishing when I'm 78 years old. Doing an audio check. Am I not plugged? There we go. There we go. For Pat Johnston here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio, wearing my official broadcast headphones, talking into the official broadcast mic. You'll notice when I tap this mic right here, you can hear that. When I tap this mic, Pat can hear it, but you can't hear it. It's two different mics. People say, why do you have two mics in front of you? One is my social media mic. One is my official broadcast microphone. Tonight, I must have been close. I was in the top 10%, Harry. Tonight, when I do a Wednesday night live, I will just have one microphone in front of me, which will be my social media microphone. 3 minutes, Pat says. Less than 3. Yes. So we have 3 mics. We have my social media mic. We have my broadcast mic. And we have me, Mike Avery, the big guy. But not as big as I used to be. I was thinking about that this morning. It's been pushing 4 years now since I had my bypass surgery that I lost 115 pounds. Now, I will be honest, I've gained back 15, 20-ish pounds, which is to be expected. They told me I'd gain back 30 to 40 pounds. So I'm pretty happy that I'm where I am. Mad Jack headed to Tawas to do the vets for nets, taking out vets for a day of fishing this weekend. Excellent. Bill checking in from Spider Lake in northern Michigan. Beautiful. I bet it's nice up there this morning. Less than 2 minutes. It is, Harry, when you look at the alternative, although if you look at it from a certain perspective, you could say, yeah, you could be here in this world dealing with what's going on, or you could be somewhere else, a better place. But I'd like to be around here as long as I can. So you're right, Harry. It's an honor and a blessing to grow old. But I do not fear what's at the end of growing old. And that's a good spot to be in, too. All right, so we've got about a minute, and then we'll start the recording of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. When that happens, I'll still be here. You'll still see me. You'll still hear me. You'll still hear me talking. I'll talk about many of the topics we have shot the breeze about this morning, but I will not be able to directly answer your questions. And it makes people mad. They say, Avery, I was talking to you. You ignored me. I wasn't ignoring you. I'm turning my focus, my attention from this microphone to this microphone. Thank you, Scott. He says, good luck with the bear hunt. Which one, Scott? I think you're wishing me good luck for both bear hunts, and I'll take it. And then in October, I will be hunting in Ohio for whitetails. 30 seconds. Yes, the WSGW poll question this morning is about monkeypox. Monkeypox! I'm not wearing a mask again. I'll tell you this right now, federal government. I'm never wearing a mask again. I don't care if they come up with Ebola or what's the worst thing you can think of. I'm not wearing a mask again. I'll wear it in a doctor's office or a hospital where I'm required to. Other than that, I'm not wearing a mask again. So it's not going to happen. 1, blast off. If they come up with a monkeypox, Ebola, smallpox, flesh-eating disease from the outside of this world that'll kill you immediately, I'm not wearing a mask again. I'm done with it. The control they had over us was very sad, and I'm not giving that to them again. Okay, that was not an outdoor-related comment, but I said it anyway. Mad Jack says, I'm with you there. All right, my friends, I got to go to work. Have a good day. Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network. More than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan talking about the history and tradition of the outdoors, the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan and occasionally beyond. We talk about hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and wildlife issues and conservation issues. And we even wrap up each week's show with some wild game cooking. And I'm so glad to have you along with us. So what is going on in the outdoors right now, this time of year? You know, it's almost August. I mean, August is what? Just around the corner. How does that happen? How does the summertime fly by so fast? And the more advanced I get in years, the faster time flies. Oh, if you would have asked me about 10 years ago, what does August mean? It would mean salmon fishing. Boy, we used to fish salmon a lot over on Lake Michigan, Muskegon, Manistee, Frankfort. It was every weekend, 2 weeks in early August, fishing with my mom and dad. And it was a lot of fun. These days, I don't fish salmon. I got nothing against salmon. I'm over here on Saginaw Bay fishing walleye. And I have been out enjoying what is actually a pretty good summer on Saginaw Bay. The water temp, last time I was out, the surface temp was 77, which was kind of nice. I fear that magic 80 mark when it gets so hot that the fish move out to deeper water. But so far, the fishery is holding up. And as evidence of that, Last weekend, out of Linwood Beach Marina was the first Angler Quest Owners Tournament. There was like 34-ish boats, a really nice turnout for a first-year event. By the way, that was won by my friend Scott Hand and his grandson Blake and the rest of their crew. They took big fish with a fish of over 5 pounds. They took big basket. I think they were 5 fish for over 15 pounds, if I remember right. But the thing I found very interesting is where people were catching fish. Now, a lot of the Angler Quest owners went deep because that's what you traditionally do this time of year as the water warms up, and they got fish. But I also found it interesting that there were anglers over on Callahan Reef getting fish. There were anglers by the spark plug getting fish. There were anglers in by the sailboat buoys getting fish. And there were my brothers who were fishing the shallow water, the skinny water, and they were getting fish too. Interesting. In late July to be getting fish all over the place. I was out the day before that event with my grandson Trent, and we made a couple of passes through my beloved skinny water, and we got a couple of fish, but it was pretty slow. So we had to go out deep, and we got a few fish there. It was a good day. It's always a good day when you can fish with your grandson or any family member. In fact, on the Angler Quest, that day of the Angler Quest Owners Tournament, it was me, my son James, my grandson Trent, and my good friend Tony. And even if we didn't catch fish, it was going to be a good day. But we did. We caught fish. We caught some nice fish. We didn't win the event, but we made a good showing and we had a lot of fun. And I'm already looking forward to the second annual Angler Quest Owners Tournament. Congrats to Kristen Monroe, the marketing director for Angler Quest, for coordinating that event, and to Brad Dupuis, Mr. Angler Quest himself, who didn't fish the event. Because if Brad would have fished, I think he would have had a solid chance of winning the event, and that wouldn't look very good at all, would it? But when I talked to Brad there at the weigh-in about, Brad, did you expect years ago when you started this Angler Quest concept, did you expect that this would be as successful as it was? And he said, yeah, actually, I'll be honest with you, I did. So congrats on that. So salmon fishing season is on fire right now. Walleye fishing is holding up, but a lot of the fishing down on Lake St. Clair, the multi-species muskie trips are just on fire. Lake Erie's on fire right now. Of course, they're catching trout and pike and muskie across the UP. But a lot of people right now are starting to turn their attention to hunting season. And in fact, I got to be honest, I am too, because it's only 2 weeks now before I head north of the border to Ontario, to White River, Ontario, to hunt bear hunt with Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters. This is a trip I have made every year except for COVID for the last, I don't know, pushing 13, 14, 15 years now. I have not shot a bear every year, but I have had opportunities to shoot bears every year. I always bear hunt up there with a bow. I've taken them up there with a compound. I've taken them with a recurve. And now this year I'm going back up with a crossbow. And the reason I picked my crossbow back up is not because I don't love a recurve. I think that is the purest, most basic, simple, beautiful method of hunting that I have ever done. But it's a lot of work. You have to practice. You have to shoot a lot. And I found myself not shooting that recurve as much as I needed to be proficient enough to have the confidence that I figured if an animal walked in front of me, I could make a quick, clean, humane killing shot, which is the goal of every hunter. Now, I did take a bear up there with a recurve a couple of years ago, and God smiled on me, and the arrow flew true, and I made a good shot, and the bear died within sight. It was actually quite impressive. Last year I shot a bear up there with my crossbow, another good shot, but the bear took us on quite a venture, an adventure across water in some very thick bush. It took like 5-6 guys to get it out of there. Thank God they were young, strong guys. I was there for moral support, and I did actually at one point grab a leg and help. But I'm not the guy who did it. There's an advantage to being an old guy, and there's an advantage to having young guys out there with you when it comes time for a recovery. But I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm looking forward to my bear hunt in Michigan with Johnny Bowler, the bear whisperer, where I'm going to use my Michigan-made Brenton USA 350 Legend. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And then I'm heading down to Ohio. And of course, between and amongst and amid all that stuff, I'll be whitetail hunting here in Michigan as well. I will not be elk hunting because I didn't get an elk tag, because nobody gets an elk tag, especially a bull elk tag, right? Nobody ever gets a Michigan bull elk tag. I mean, I know there are a few people who do, but when you look at it statistically, but I had an interesting situation the other day. I had some work done at the house. And the guy who came over to do the work, when he was done, he stopped by my office there in the house, and he said, "Hey, I got a question for you." He said, "I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but I'm looking for an elk guide." And he wanted to know a suggestion. I said, "Why are you embarrassed to say this?" He said, "Well," he said, "to be honest with you, it was the first time I applied for an elk tag, and I got my tag." And there was something in his eye. I said, "You got a bull tag, didn't you?" Yep. The first time this guy ever applied for a Michigan elk tag, he got a bull tag. So miracles do happen. It can happen. Just doesn't happen very often. So congrats to him and everybody else who got their Michigan elk tag, the Michigan bear tags. I've got some information coming up in the second hour during this week's Ask Avery segment about how much the DNR makes on these bear, elk, and turkey application process and the sale of those licenses. Because I hear on a consistent basis, the DNR is making a ton of money on these. The DNR is getting rich on this. The DNR is getting rich on us Michigan hunters. I have the numbers, the firm numbers for 2021, and I will compare those numbers to how much, say, the wildlife overall budget is, and we'll take a real close look at that. That's coming up in the Ask Avery segment, the second segment of the second hour. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show after the break, I'm going to talk with Captain Bobby Sullivan. Bobby is the guy whose client caught that new state record king salmon of 47 pounds and change last year. Well, a lot has happened for Bobby in the past year, including the fact that he is making the big move. He's quitting his full-time job, and he's going to become a full-time charter captain. This is a big step. I want to talk to Bobby about that, the process you go through, also reading water. When you're out there on Lake Michigan trolling for kings, there's a lot of water out there. How do you read that water? How do you know where to start? In our second hour, switch gears a little bit, still continue to talk about salmon fishing, but talk with Larry Jennings of Jonah Jigs. This is the time of year here for the next month or so when those kings come in close, they run the rivers, and the folks with smaller boats can get access to those fish, and you'll see them anchored up at the drowned river mouth jigging for those fish. Larry makes Jonah Jigs. Then Nick Green of MUCC, with their continued unhappiness with the DNR on the consent decree negotiations. There is a sense the DNR is selling us out. Nobody can tell you that officially, but if you talk to people involved in the conversations, that's the sense that I'm getting. I already talked about the Ask Avery segment. And in hour number 3, Bob Ransom, the guy who started Ameristep with one screw and tree step, he built it up to a huge company, sold it off. He was forced out of the business for 5 years. When he came back, he started Primal Tree Stands. Bob and Chef Dave Miner coming up in the third hour of this week's Outdoor Magazine. Should I say Chef Dixie Dave Miner? Brian, no, I'm not up by Ishpeming. I will be hunting the Newberry district with near Seney, in fact, right on the edge of the refuge. All right, my friends, have a good day. Thanks for joining me on this edition of Behind the Mic. I'll be back here at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Yeah, the walleye population is healthy. I'll be back 7 o'clock Eastern time for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. In the meantime,